Some promotion this is. How on earth am I supposed to get all my equipment in here?
You're in the executive suite now, Lee. You're not expected to spend all day surrounded by computers.
Tell me about it. Jenny's already pressurised me into doing staff appraisals. I'm supposed to be doing Bob's later.
You took the promotion.
But this office is smaller than my old one.
Well, Charles was perfectly happy with it for the past 10 years.
Yeah. I guess that's why he never decorated it.
I suppose it could do with a lick of paint. You know, I think I might get a shower installed in mine at the same time.
A shower?
You could use it as well, occasionally.
What I really need is more space. Perhaps if we move this partition back.
That is my office.
Only kidding.
Ah, Nigel, you think it's too late to get Charles back?
Pardon?
Ignore him. What do you want?
I wondered if we could have a quick chat.
Well, it's a bit inconvenient.
Ah.
Oh, don't mind me. I'm just on my way out to get a breath of fresh air. There's a touch of claustrophobia coming on. Get your hair cut, Nigel.
Yeah, come in, Nige. Sit down. What do you want?
Well, I just thought we could have a quick chat.
A chat?
Oh, can I have that if you're throwing it away?
What, this?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. There you go. What exactly was it you wanted to chat about?
Well, about me, really. Now that you're my new boss. What do you think about my performance?
Nigel, I've barely got my feet under the desk.
Well, you see, I've read about it in this book. It's called the Hawthorne Effect.
Hawthorne Effect?
Named after the scientist who invented it. He wanted to know the effect of electric light on office productivity.
Electric light? No, sorry, you've lost me.
Oh, it's quite simple. Hawthorne went round this huge office block. He increased the wattage of the electric light bulbs in a third of the offices, left a third the same, and lowered them in the last third.
Let me guess. Those people in the brighter offices worked harder?
That's right. They showed a 15% increase.
That's great. Well, I'm glad we sorted that one out. Here, you can have this one.
Thanks, but that's not the point of the Hawthorne effect.
It's not.
No. You see, those people who had their light bulbs lowered in strength also showed a 15% rise in productivity. It was only the group that didn't have their light bulbs changed at all that failed to improve.
I still don't get it.
Well, the Hawthorne effect shows that if you take an interest in the staff's working conditions, then they're happier and productivity improves.
I see. Well, great. Like I said, it is early days. I hope the lamp helps.
Thanks. But I was wondering if there was something more personal you could give me as feedback about my performance.
Feedback? About you, not the lamp. Something personal. I don't know.
Well, anything at all. Continuous improvement is the cornerstone of quality management.
Mm-hmm. Well, you could always lose that tie.
My tie?
And your shoes. I mean, they just don't go with your trousers. And whilst we're at it, your trousers don't really go with your shirt.
Just the shirt?
I mean, I hope you don't mind me mentioning this, but your whole wardrobe could do with a bit of a fresh look. A bit like this office, really. Okay.
Okay. I hadn't really thought about it. Well, this is my Engineering Association tie. I wouldn't really like to lose it.
Nigel, I'm just giving you constructive criticism. How you deal with it is up to you.
Okay, thanks. I'll go shopping at the weekend. Thank you.
Don't mention it. Pop by any time. Oh, and Nigel, don't forget your lamp.
Well, it's your baby, Jenny, so what's the problem?
I know that, John. It's just that I feel like I'm banging my head against a brick wall on this one. There's no one in the company who really believes my appraisal scheme's worth the effort.
Oh, I can't believe that.
Well, Lee has promised to give it a try, but his heart isn't in it. As for Mike...
Well, why don't we take a fresh look at it right from the top?
Yeah, okay.
Now, from what I understand, there never was any kind of a formalized review of how people were doing in the company.
No, nothing at all. It wasn't FE's style.
What happened when people were doing well or they got a raise?
Well, each year when the salaries were reviewed, FE would put a photocopied scrap of paper in with the payslips. telling staff what percentage increase they did or did not receive.
What if they wanted to discuss it?
Oh, well, we couldn't. He would always time his holiday to start the day those slips went out, and by the time he got back from the Bahamas, the fuss would have died down. People either accepted it or looked for another job.
But appraisals are not about salary increases. They're about showing that you're interested in your staff.
You don't need to tell me. Although Effie no longer runs Redware, his spirit sure lives on.
Did he ever give you any feedback about how you were doing?
Yes, once in 7 years. I was with him at a trade exhibition overseas. I think Rebecca couldn't make it and I was just filling in. Anyway, one evening late in the bar at the hotel, he gave me a blow-by-blow account of all my failings as a general manager, as a woman, and as a human being, in that order.
Well, he's gone now. Time to put the ghost to rest, yeah.
Would that I could. I know that for him it was just a drunken conversation in a bar. By the next morning he'd forgotten every word he'd said.
But not you.
No, I can remember every slight. That night I felt like a naughty child. I can see now that he was drunk, that he was prejudiced, overcritical, and completely out of date with what I actually did around the company.
Well, sounds like he was on some kind of an ego trip.
Well, to be fair, he had had a bad day at the exhibition. A few sales and a lot of expense. And one of our competitors next door had a bigger stand.
Why are you making excuses for him?
You're right. I should have been angry with him. Well, as it is, I'm just uncomfortable with appraisals and reviews.
Well, it doesn't have to be that way. Take a look at this. Now, this is about an advertising agency that takes a more enlightened approach.
St. Luke's is an unconventional advertising agency. It's run as a cooperative by all its employees. An informal environment for doing very serious business. So perhaps it's not surprising that it also has an unusual system of appraisal. George Porteous is an account manager about to have his 6-monthly appraisal. It's a 3-way review. First, a report from Head of Department Charlotte Zamboni. Then an overview from a colleague, Claire Nash. Finally, his own self-assessment. First of all, Charlotte and Claire come together to plan the session.
Let's go through his strengths. I've been talking to quite a few people in the agency, so I'm quite clear in my mind about his strengths in terms of his work in accounts, but
right.
I'd be interested in your views.
Yeah.
Then I've got some thoughts on areas to develop. He hasn't really got any weaknesses, but there's quite a few things we can guide him on what he can focus on for the next 6 months. Having the head of department provides the kind of continuity necessary, so benchmarks are laid down and referred back to, but allowing the person to choose the other reviewer allows them to think about what they've been particularly focusing on themselves and where they want to develop.
He's so well liked in the agency and a really popular character around the agency, so there's absolutely no problem there. The one thing I'd say was that this sort of great determination and focusedness and ambition and sort of spirit that he shows on his accounts, he tends not to quite show that so much in an ordinary agency, sort of more social way.
Claire's somebody who he knows well, but doesn't actually directly work with currently. And he also knows that she would have gone and consulted a lot of people in the agency and therefore could bring a general agency perspective to the review.
Hi, George.
Okay?
Yeah, very well.
Right, well, we've spent the last hour or so putting together our thoughts, and then we pulled it together under 3 sections: strengths, areas to develop, and then general agency perspective. Strengths, your first main strength are your project management skills. You have your projects very well timed, very well planned. You're good at telling everybody what they need to do by when. Your strategic judgment, I know you've been working very hard on, and I think now when you consider advertising strategy and have a view on it, it's always very intelligent and very well thought through. In terms of areas to develop, the main point I wanted to make was where you're working really well now is when you have a very focused task at hand. You've decided exactly what you need to achieve and you set out single-mindedly to achieve it, and it's very impressive. But what you'll occasionally do is let other things slightly fall by the wayside. And I'm not saying you ever let anybody down or don't achieve something, because you are very reliable, but sometimes I think you could produce the effects a little bit more quickly if you thought, well, I know I'm doing current accounts today, but there's Tessa, I might just talk to her about that radio ad we're doing on mortgages while she's there.
Your head of department is responsible for reviewing you, but you also get to select another person. I like the fact that you can choose who it is, because then it's sort of up to you, whoever you feel can judge things best, or if you feel that a particular department is important in your particular role, then you can get their view, you know, and it's good that you have that choice.
I think there's just one thing that sort of refers back to what Charlotte was saying about this, the great energy and sort of focus you now bring to your accounts is slightly missing when you're not on your accounts, ironically. I mean, you're very popular and really well liked in the agency, so I mean, you're doing brilliantly from that point of view.
Was there anything that we said today that you hadn't thought of before in terms of your strengths or your areas to develop?
No, it was all more or less in the self-assessment that I did do before I came in. I'm very keen to sort of get some training, which will sort of build on my knowledge of the business, because at the moment, obviously, I've been involved in this project management that we've been talking about.
Yeah, I still think, though, that it's much better to talk to people than to get them to fill in forms, and if you spend 10 minutes chatting to someone about another individual's performance, you'll get much more out of it. A form mitigates against any individuality, I think.
Okay, let's try it out. Now, what I'm going to show you now, I want you to spread through the company, okay? You ready to be the guinea pig? Right. Now, first of all, give the subject of the appraisal time to prepare. Fix a date, say a fortnight away. Give you time to talk to their staff and collect the opinions of others, okay? Now, for instance, this is a report on you from your colleagues.
You've spoken to everyone? Even Mike?
Sure. The key to a successful appraisal is to get the opinions of others who work with you on a day-to-day basis. Now, I've only known you for 2 months. I've only known you on your best behavior.
So, how do you run an appraisal?
Once you've fixed a date, do not postpone it, no matter how busy you might find yourself with other things. All that we have in this company are people. That's what we're built on. So they must come first, even before the customer.
And then what?
We'll try to meet on neutral ground. Always ensure that the room is private, so you won't be interrupted. Now, lay out the room. May I?
Oh, sure.
Lay out the room so that you're not looking face to face. It's not a confrontation. Now, we're both working together on the same subject.
But the subject's still me.
Well, appraisals by their nature are personal things, but as the assessor, you must get across that you're looking at someone's work, not their personality.
All right, so what have you discovered about my work?
Well, you're very conscientious. It comes across clearly. Now, yeah, very reliable. People see you as a very reliable member of the team. Here, you tend to keep your promises, so people trust you. I also appreciate the way that you make time to listen to their problems. They feel that you care about them, you see.
Well, where's the bad news? You're editing this just to spare my feelings.
I'll let you into a secret. Research in the States has shown that people are very happy to take criticism if you make them feel secure through praise, right? Rule of thumb, 6 pieces of praise, 1 piece of criticism.
Okay, I've had enough praise. What's the bad news?
Well, some say that you can be, indecisive. You don't trust your own judgment.
Who said that? Was it Jackie? Oh, she resents any woman achieving higher than she'll ever do. She thinks a career ladder is something you get in your tights. No, I bet it was Mike. Yes, he always sees me as some sort of a threat.
And others say you can fly off the handle when you're provoked, yeah. You do tend to speak without thinking sometimes. I don't think you realize that what you might say perhaps as a chance comment can be hurtful, you know, demotivating. Never forget that you are a senior member of staff.
Right. Point taken. Engage brain before mouth. OK, so what else have people been saying about me?
Stop lurking, Nigel. If you want to know something, out with it.
Oh, hi, Jackie. It's nothing, except that I was wondering about Lee.
What about him?
Well, I just don't seem to be on his wavelength.
You remind him too much of a human being.
Yes, maybe. But he's my boss now. It'd be nice if he noticed me occasionally.
I'm afraid Lee's a very different manager to Charles.
You're telling me.
But I hear that Jenny's trying to make him do some proper staff appraisals.
Is she?
Mm-hmm. He's promised to do one today.
With who?
Bob.
Oh.
Nigel, to be honest, I think Lee is more interested in his new office than his new staff.
Okay. Anything else you want to ask me?
No, you've given me plenty of food for thought. Except...
What?
Have you ever screwed up? I mean, really badly.
What happened to the 6 pieces of praise? That's all right, I can take it. Besides, it's a good question. Yeah, I have really screwed up in the past, but I was working for a firm where it was okay to fail, as long as you didn't make the same mistake twice.
Was it in Mexico?
Well, I'll tell you about it sometime. What concerns me more is that I don't screw up this time.
You don't think you've bitten off more than you can chew? What with the company making losses and trying to knock us into shape?
Well, sure, we have our work cut out, yeah, but the potential's there.
Do you really think so?
Well, sure, yeah. Some of you already responding to the 20 steps training. I mean, here we are making an appraisal system. That couldn't have happened 2 months ago.
No, I suppose not. Are these assessments part of the selection process to decide who'll be the new MD?
Everything that we do over these 20 weeks will help me decide who gets that job.
But it's going to be Mike, though, isn't it?
What do we agree about you engaging brain before mouth? I've already said any one of you could be the new MD. That includes Jenny Carroll. Or do you think I'd lie to you?
No, I don't think you would.
I'm very glad to hear it. Believe me when I say that the jury is still out. It'll remain out until the end of 20 steps.
Okay.
All right? Now, let me also say I probably have a higher opinion of you than you do. Just be easier on yourself. It's okay to accept praise where it's due.
Maybe I've never had it from the right person.
Well, back to your assessment here now. This form sets out the actions or the areas of change that we agree together. Now, the first one is areas of training. What gaps do you think you might fill?
You wanted to see me?
Oh, Brenda, there you are. Yes, it's about the diary clash for next week's trade exhibitions.
You mean Geneva?
And Birmingham.
It's crazy, isn't it? You wouldn't think we'd have 2 exhibitions going on in the same week. I suppose I get the short straw?
I'm afraid so. Mike wants you to go with him to Geneva.
Geneva? But that's great. And you'll do Birmingham for me?
It would be a pleasure.
I've always wanted to work in Europe.
Brenda, we are in Europe.
Yes, but not proper Europe. Croissants and gondolas and the Rive Gauche. I've always fancied a date with that Gerard Depardieu.
Don't get your hopes up too high, Brenda. Being on that exhibition stand all day is hard work. And you'll have Mike to contend with. He'll expect you to wine and dine clients all night long.
Oh, thanks, Rebecca. I must phone my mum.
Believe me, you're the one doing me the favour.
Like a lamb to the slaughter.
At the moment, obviously, I've been involved in this project management that we've been talking about.
Yeah. I still think, though, that it's much better to talk to people than to get them to fill in forms and...
Yeah.
Spend 10 minutes chatting to someone about
Bob, grab a seat.
You'll get much more out of it.
Sorry I had to cancel this first time round, but you know how it is. Some poxy meeting or other cropped up.
It's okay.
Well, it's a load of bullshit. There's nothing here I couldn't tell you in the pub over a few drinks, but now we are a part of Softex, I suppose we'd better do it by the book. Yeah, don't worry, it won't take long.
Well, actually, I was rather looking forward to talking to you. You know, it happened so fast, you know, Charles leaving, you taking his place, and now me taking on more of your workload.
Well, that proves I rate you. I could have chosen any of a dozen to take my old job, but I chose you. Now that's got to prove something, doesn't it?
Well, that's what I wanted to talk to you about. Like, I mean, we haven't really discussed the implications. Like, I'm leading the software development teams, but I've seen no change in title or package. Like, I was promised a new company car months ago.
All in good time, Bob. I mean, I have to be sure that you are the right person for the job. I mean, some of these comments from your colleagues...
What comments?
I'm afraid they're confidential. But Susan does say you sometimes cut corners on validation procedures.
Yeah, but the thing about...
Matthew says he doesn't communicate clearly what he expects me to be doing.
Oh, I see.
And Ken says his budgeting abilities are that of a minor member of the royal family.
I'll kill him.
Don't take it to heart. It's not what they think that counts. I know there isn't anybody in the building who writes sweeter code. Apart from me, of course.
Yeah, of course.
So what else? There are no courses you want to go on?
There aren't?
No, you're far too busy. Right. Sign there. And that'll be it for the next 6 months.
Is that it?
Yep. See ya.
Great.
There's nothing to this appraisal business.
Well, Bob. What is it, Nige? Have you had your appraisal with Lee?
I might have.
So, how did it go? Well, these things are personal, Nigel. I don't want to broadcast it to the whole office.
No. It's not you I'm interested in.
Oh, thanks.
What I want to know is how Lee is handling these new appraisals. Well, what's he like?
Eh?
Well, did he give you any constructive advice? Well, all he gave me was this desk lamp. Oh, and Charles's globe.
Very nice.
He said he didn't like my tie. Well, he knows you a lot better. I was wondering whether he gave you a more considered assessment.
He didn't like your tie?
Or my shoes.
He criticised your shoes?
And my shirt.
Anything else?
No, I think that was it.
And you've been working for him how long?
Well, just a week, really.
Well, there you go. You've obviously made a great impression on our Lee.
I have?
Now listen, Nigel. I've been sharing this office with Lee for the past 5 years, and he hasn't once mentioned the way I dress, let alone give me any of his desk furniture. You really must be the blue-eyed boy.
Ah, Jenny. Hello.
Mike.
You had your appraisal. Go right, did it?
Fine, thank you. Except some comments from colleagues seemed a little harsh.
Oh, someone's got to put personal feelings aside and give an objective view, no matter how painful.
Well, I hope you didn't lose any sleep over it. Still, I'm just looking forward to your appraisal with John next week.
Oh, it's been cancelled. I've decided to fly to Geneva to help Brenda out with the trade fair stand.
Scared of what you might hear?
Not exactly. I just happen to think that the only valid critic of my performance is the customer.
What do you mean?
Your appraisal system is as irrelevant as it is wasteful. The customer is king, Jenny. Anyone else's opinion, including John's, is just so much baloney.
So none of your staff are going to get an appraisal from you?
I prefer to tell people what I think of them in my own way and in my own time.
Yes, no doubt in some bar in Geneva.
Now there's a thought.